What's up, guys? Quinn with 74 Weld. Wanted to take a quick minute because I get this question a bunch. We're looking at a Bronco Raptor versus a Bronco on portals. We're going to pull a couple measurements here and give you some actual real life numbers as far as tire size, setup, etc. So the Bronco Raptor is bone stock. This is the way it comes. They're 37s, 37, 12, 5, 17. I'm running a 38, 13, 5, 17. Now, the Bronco is sitting a little tall right now because I put a Fox 3.0 internal bypass coilover front and rear. I'm actually working with Fox right now to develop a custom shock package. I expect to lower the Bronco down about 1 inch to 1.5 inches, both front and rear, but not lose shock shaft at ride height, not change the bypass zones. So we'll have a custom shock package that we're in development on and we'll be rolling out soon. But for sake of argument, what we're really focusing on today is ground clearance between the two, and regardless of shock, that's not going to change. So 37, 12, 5, 17 BFG. Now, one thing to note is that BFGs on this size tire, on 35s, 39s, etc., they run a little bit on the small side. So a 37 typically in fresh tread measures about 36. So what we'll do, we'll pull a couple simple measurements. To the bottom of the skid plate, we're at 14.25 inches to where that front bolt is. To the low spot on the A-arm, you're gonna be 10.5 inches, okay? That's on Bronco Raptor. So on the bottom of the skid plate, and now keep in mind, this will probably drop a little bit because I am gonna lower this vehicle down, but lowest point I've got here is 18.75 inches. And lowest point on the A-arm, 17 inches. For reference, front bumper, top of that, you got, call it 32 inches. And again, I do plan on lowering this down, 36.5 inches. You want to give me a hand? We're going to measure track width. So this is a question we get a bunch. We're going to go outside of tire. And keep in mind that the Bronco Raptor is on a 12.5 inch wide. And we are you outside of tire? 86 inches to the outside of the bulge. Same here. We're at 86 inches. So stock suspension with portals and a 13.5 inch wide, and this matters too. I'm on a plus 35 wheel from Method, the Method 705s. I don't know the spec off the top of my head for stock Raptor, but I think it's in that same plus 30. This is a narrower tire, but you're essentially taking a Bronco, making it Bronco Raptor width, just with a lot more ground clearance. Before I put these shocks on, I had the Wild Track shocks, which is a Fox 2.5 inch internal bypass. It sat, I think, about 1.25 inches lower than it currently is. I'm going to lower that one down a little. With the current setup, I could run a 40 on this. I'm not going to run a 40 on a Bronco. I just think it's too big of a tire. And with a portal, I don't think you need it. But I also like to go fast in this. So setting that vehicle down a little bit and a little lower ride height makes it more stable. But we essentially take a Bronco, make it the same track width as a Bronco Raptor, and give you a bunch more ground clearance. I'll pull a couple dimensions, we'll flip them around and look at rear axle diff clearance, because big issue I see with Bronco in general on the rear suspension is those lower shock mounts hang way down, and there's not much you're gonna do about that currently. So we'll pull dimensions on the rear and look at that. And I don't know if it's worth comparing rocker panels because I'm running the Rockslide Engineerings on the Bronco. These are factory steps on the Bronco Raptor, so they're not really even rockers. You wouldn't want to hit that on a rock, you'll fold it. But that gives you a pretty good idea of the front. So do you have keys to the other? We'll flip the vehicles around and then we'll show the rear. Okay, so ass end, Bronco Raptor versus Bronco. We'll start off by, I guess, bumper height. I don't know if that's going to tell us much. Keep in mind, again, 38 versus 37, which really measures more like 36. We'll go to bottom of the pumpkin. Under the diff, I have 15 3/4 inches at the lowest spot. And the other spot I think that really matters is, and this is brutal, 13 3/4 inches. So the lowest point on the shock mount, 13 3/4 inches here. This one's gonna be a little on the rough side. So, lowest point on the shock of a Bronco Raptor, drum roll, 9 inches. And at the diff, 11 3/8. So that's really where stuff comes into play. Ground clearance on the rear is huge. And also we're gaining a little clearance because we're running a larger tire. But that's what we all want anyways, right? I mean, 37s, if you're running a 37, like, why are you on such a small tire? If the OE is gonna come out with a 37, everybody seems to wanna go to 38s or 40s. I'd run a 38, but personal preference. I guess for reference, we'll do hitch as well. Bottom of hitch on this is 19 1/4. Bottom of hitch on this is 24 1/2. So lots less to drag, a lot more clearance, and hope you enjoyed actual numbers because I get a bunch of questions about this. So asked and answered.